Lesson 8. Planning for Success.
Memory text, and whatever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the Lord Christ. Colossians 3, 23, 24.
Success is something most people want, and start planning at an early age. What is success? Great job? Big house? Fancy car? There is nothing wrong with planning for the future, but our godly stewardship, and a Christ-like life, must be the majority of what a biblical version of success looks like.
We cannot just live life without human judgment. God gave us minds to think and plan. That planning includes steps to avoid running into financial difficulties. However, no matter what we plan, God might have a different one. We also live in a sinful world and can fall victim to what evil has done to this world.
First things first. Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come, and the years draw near when you say, I have no pleasure in them. Jacob was introduced to God at an early age. When Jacob had a dream of a heavenly ladder, he fully embraced the calling of God. It was this event that helped Jacob through his many trials that lay ahead. As children grow up and become adults, the thoughts of college, getting jobs, even marriage, begin to take hold. This time is most important to also think about spiritual things. Nothing matters in life without Jesus at the forefront. This is perhaps the toughest choice for young people to make. Outside influences are hard at work. Rarely do we make right choices in our youth without some type of encouraging guidance. We can talk a lot about what youth need to do, but in reality, the question should fall on us. What are we doing to counteract worldly ideas?
Our churches should be engaging and investing in them. Teach them when they are 5 years old, not 25. Here are some tips for churches to consider. Older youths should be mentored and listened to. What is their story? Get to know them. Church should be a place where they feel they belong. Make it a place that they choose to come, not wanting to stay away. Jesus was a zealous teacher and preacher. Are we on fire for the Lord? Welcome youth with open arms. We cannot jump ahead to baptism without a grounding of faith. Pair up a new Christian with someone their age that has more experience. The youth need to feel part of the church. Give them jobs and assignments during the worship service. Plan activities that would be attractive to younger members. Through all of this we stay true to the faith that we were brought up in. However, this does not mean we cannot learn a little from them as well. We cannot tell them what jobs are more honorable to have. All jobs have their place in society. One can choose a variety of paths to an occupation. We should not push anyone to want to get a high-paying job so they can buy a big house, expensive car, and have a boat. Promoting of a good, decent, and modest life will go much further. A grounding in the faith will make future choices on marriage and financial matters to be more in line with biblical teachings. If a young person has nothing but the view of the world, what choices will most likely be made?
The blessing of work, ideally, is work a blessing or a curse? We have to go to the beginning of creation with Adam and Eve. Genesis 2:15. Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. Men's first job was to take care of the garden. We could call this work, but in fact it was more of a responsibility. The work they did was out of love for God and the blessings they received. This was only one part of what people were to do. Genesis 1:26. Then God said, Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. We were to populate the earth and rule over it. This included building towns, raising food, developing and discovering new things, and protecting it. This was the original plan for humans. We could call this work, but it was not work in order to live and survive. That part would be provided easily by God's perfect creation. We would only be doing enjoyable things that nobody today would probably label as work. There was no plan for becoming wealthier than another and leaving people lacking. Sharing, caring, loving, and blessing would be the mindset. They would not be worrying about what to eat, where, or where to live. Nobody was to be envious or yearn for a better life. The introduction of sin threw all of this into chaos. God's original plan for man and the earth was still valid, but now by the sweat of his brow would he eat and survive. And that would be the true definition that we should give work.
Remember how Jesus described how God the Father provides for the animals? Jesus does not reference any work the animals do, but we know many animals now fight for survival. We ruined God's perfect plan for them as well. Needing to work to survive was never part of the original plan. We only have to look around us to see how that turned out. We have billions of people living in poverty, while others have relatively easy lives. Some work very hard and barely survive. Living conditions can be harsh. Water and food is lacking in various parts of the world. Others work more to buy more things. They have plenty of food, water, shelter, but they yearn for more. In countries like the United States we have what we call workaholics. People who are just involved in work 24 hours a day. Remember this as we put modern work into perspective. Our true calling since the beginning was only God's work. Our work life can now get in the way of that. Your job is a blessing only if it is providing the following: healthy food, appropriate clothing, and housing. Contributions to the work of the church. Satisfaction with what you have, and not wanting more and more. Enough time to unwind and rest from your labors. Enjoy the Sabbath. Help others in need. A pathway to retirement or survival in later years. Living a Christ-like life. Sadly, many working people today are unsatisfied with that list. They either want more, or they have no heart for God's work. Some are unsatisfied. They want it easy. They want it fast, and many times, they want it free. You alone must ask yourself if your job is a blessing or a curse. All jobs and careers can be honorable and valuable. It is worth noting that Jesus in Matthew 6 tells us that God's plan of providing for us is still somewhat intact. Matthew 6:31-34. So do not worry, saying, "What shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear?" For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. What is Jesus telling us our true work should be?
The earning years. In a perfect world, people would work soon after high school or college, and work solidly for about 40 years. The earning years are when most people are able to work in the most productive ways. During this time, they earn more money, prepare for the future, send their kids to college, among other things. The Bible is full of advice for parents and raising children. The most important part is bringing them up in the ways of the Lord. All other things are secondary. During the earning years, many distractions get in the way. It seems that parents are now called upon to send their children to college at all costs. Take on debt, Work overtime, whatever it takes. Can we be bold and call this a worldly view and somewhat against biblical principles? There is nothing wrong with going to college, but there are numerous careers that take little or no college. The financial stress of raising kids is already too much for many parents. The husband was always at the head of supporting a family in the Bible. However, mothers were very important as well. Today, with world pressures on how kids should be raised, along with the economic times, both spouses are pressured to work.
One person working paycheck to paycheck means that any unforeseen circumstances can lead to financial disasters. Sadly, this drastically affects a Christian household. Eating and worshiping together are seldom done, if at all. Christians do not have to keep up with the world. Before marriage, couples need to have good discussions as to how to keep a solid Christian household. It should not be to discuss how to conform more to the world. Children, and maybe some adults, need to be shown that work is honorable and valuable. Give your kids small amounts of money for household chores, but teach the true reward of satisfaction of a job well done, and service to others. College and academies are very expensive today. Most cannot afford a Christian education. Although this is the ideal, there is neither space nor money to fund everyone. Parents should be encouraged to do all they can in this regard, but never made to feel inadequate if finances are not there. A Christian home is much more important. The corporate church body should be doing more to make schooling affordable, and open to more students. Even in the Adventist church there is a divide between the haves and the have-nots. Parents should never be shamed or made to feel unworthy. Even those kids who grow up in the best Christian environments, and have a Christian education, do not always turn out to be the best adults. Instilling lifelong values of a Christ-like life should be the most important thing that Christian parents are called to do. It is not about being in a privileged home, but being a person who wants the treasures of heaven.
Working with integrity. The story of Joseph gives us a good model of how to work with integrity. He worked hard, honestly, even when confronted with false accusations and temptations. Idleness is not biblical, and humans were designed to keep busy doing constructive things. Christians are called upon to do their work with utmost diligence, and with joy and satisfaction. The fourth commandment tells us we shall labor on 6 days, rest on the seventh. The first 5 books of the Bible give quite a few instructions from God on labor. Because of that society depending on agriculture, the labor instructions focused on that. How to plant, harvest, and maintain the land, as well as how to treat hired servants.
Proverbs warns us of the dangers of being lazy. Jesus told many parables concerning work ethics. Paul tells us to work to eat. He also explains how workers are not just working for their employer. We are working as Christians for God, and should be above reproach. Not only are we working as if we are working for God, we are also instructed to provide for our families. 1 Timothy 5:8. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever.
Seeking godly counsel. A wise Christian has a plan for their income and spending. This can take a lot of stress out of your life. At all possible points, be determined not to spend more than you take in, and know exactly where your money is going. Make getting into debt a rare occasion. Problems arise quickly when one gets into a burden of debt. Little debts can add up to big debts, and then you really start to have financial difficulties.
Be satisfied with what you have, even if it means not getting a new car every couple of years, or going on an expensive vacation. Start saving money, no matter how small the amount at first. The key is to get in the habit of spending less than you take in. Everyone needs money put aside for future events. Work as if Jesus is your supervisor. Not everyone will get noticed or be rewarded for hard, diligent work. However, it is also rare that anyone gets promoted by doing a poor job either. Stay faithful in your giving. This is a personal decision to how much and when, but the biblical principle is always tithing and sacrificial giving. Being a good steward with your money will allow you to be a better steward for God. Before spending any money, be determined to remind yourself that the earth will one day burn up. This includes every earthly possession anyone ever has had. Set your mind and heart on working for Jesus and waiting on the treasures of heaven.